Welcome, viewer, to History Unreveled. Today, the stones and slopes are home to strong sheep and seabirds that will not leave the island. Yet, under 100 years after the fact, he raised a local area of everyone who lived on this remote stone. Obviously, in the same way as other remote spots, living in St Kilda has not been simple. And keeping in mind that the walk go on in the cutting-edge world, individuals of this island grip to the past. For a really long time, individuals of St Kilda resided in practically complete disconnection from the remainder of the world, hunting seabirds for food and digging unsteady houses in the PD soil, protected from fierce oceans and rough pinnacles. The response uncovers an inauspicious truth about a remote piece of the English Isles, an archipelago of 4 islands in excess of 100 kilometers off the west bank of Scotland, St Kilda, and a lifestyle that is currently neglected. It is the uttermost place of the English Isles. Obviously, there are 40 miles of ocean between the wild coast and the closest town, toward the Upper East, and even today, it takes a boat over 2 hours to cross. In any case, that hasn't prevented the tough spirits from making a home on the rough shore throughout the long term. Early researchers accept they showed up quite a while back, leaving parts of old earthenware on the biggest island, Herta, and recommend there was a long-lasting populace here during the Bronze Age. Incredibly, for the following 2,000 years, St Kilda stayed immaculate. Vikings later came to the island via ocean in the 9th and 10th hundreds of years. However, quite a bit of St Kilda's set of experiences is covered in secret, without any records staying before the 1300 years. Cut off from the remainder of Scotland, individuals of St Kilda created their own specific manner of life to adjust to the unforgiving states of the island. Notwithstanding, in the 16th century 3 houses of prayer were implicit Hertha to serve a local area of around 180 individuals who resided and existed in St Kilda for quite a while. Taking a gander at the records, it rapidly turns out to be evident that the occupants of these distant islands were participated in a steady battle for endurance. The absence of adequate food on St Kilda appears to have been essential for the battle. Given the difficult situations of the North Atlantic, the islanders didn't depend on fishing like numerous other seaside even today. The island is possessed by birds that have lived here for a long time. The ladies of St Kilda care for the creatures and the land, while the men go chasing after puffins, guillemots, and gannets on the bluffs. It's not simply food. Simultaneously, the manifestations were additionally exchanged to the neighborhood Laird, the MacLean group of the Harris family, in return for lease, and the occupants of St Kilda wanted to sit quiet about their chiefs somewhere else. When the tempest hit, nearby occupants who couldn't swim had to overcome the ocean waves to take care of the sheep that brush on the island. Throughout the long term, numerous infections have arrived at far-off islands and cleared out disengaged populaces. For instance, in 1724, an illness called smallpox struck the local area. At the point when the infection was annihilated from the island, just 4 grown-ups made do. As they attempt to cover the dead, St Kilda's future looks disheartening. Yet, incredibly, the local area went on for a long time before out of nowhere finishing and vanishing. All through St Kilda's set of experiences, the islanders fabricated homes known as dark houses, uniquely intended to assist them with enduring the brutal climate. Be that as it may, while individuals of St Kilda are embracing their creatures for warmth, those living in the wide open are starting to partake in the cutting-edge life. The principal voyage transport showed up in Herta in 1877, carrying travelers to encounter the island's past and play golf. Simultaneously, the lead's MC thought about the day-to-day environments in St Kilda unsatisfactory by the new guidelines. Almost certainly empowered by Victorian magnanimity, the illustrious family chose to construct new houses to supplant the nation's dark houses. Yet, sadly, the developers gave little consideration to the states of life on these risky rocks. Unprotected from the breeze, The houses are fabricated like old dark houses whose rooftops are not cover, however, tin, and the intensity of the colder time of year fire gets away from straightforwardly through the sheets. Meager metal. As indicated by the BBC, the strong tempest immediately harmed the new structure, taking out entryways and windows. Individuals of the island disregarded these changes and got back to the glow and well-being of their bleak homes. Yet, after speedy fixes, the specialists demanded getting back to the new structure. Regardless of these issues, in the long run individuals of the island became accustomed to residing in houses. So life in St Kilda is as yet intense, yet it gets harder over the long haul. A few occupants decided to escape by emigrating to places like Australia, yet the number of inhabitants in St Kilda Wendell didn't gradually vanish over the long run. However, it was out of nowhere deserted, leaving the houses spoiling and frail one day. The end started during the 1920s, when the remainder of the nation could never again bear the cost of the island's circumstances. In any case, around then, a medical caretaker called Bradley was delegated to take care of individuals of St Kilda. In his 1965 book, The Life and Passing of St Kilda, writer Tom Steele depicted the scene in which Bradley previously moved toward the islanders with his arrangements. He appears to have said that the local area is hanging on by a thread and needs to give occupations and lodging to the open country. The greatest concern, Steele said, is the deficiency of kids living on the island. With the majority of them still at school, it appears to be impossible they will get a very remarkable possibility at St Kilda. 1929 was a harshly cool winter, and on 10 May 1930, a gathering of 20 individuals from St Kilda marked a request to support Bradley's contention that it would be smarter to live inland and request that the public authority let them live somewhere else. As indicated by the Scottish news press and diary, the article says another colder time of year is unavoidable. Likewise, the book plainly makes sense of what individuals of the island anticipate from their administration. Then misfortune struck the striving St Kilda people group as the public authority discussed the fate of the island's occupants. The mother and child kicked the bucket on May 26, only 16 days after the islanders marked a request to leave. At the point when the risks of living on the island became obvious, individuals of St Kilda held back to witness what might to them. Lastly, on August 29, the last individuals landed from this remote truck that day. 13 men, 13 youngsters, and 10 ladies boarded HMS Rabbit Ringer to express farewell to their island town. As per papers and magazines, a tactical leader said the exiles gave off an impression of being feeling great. The paper likewise refers to one more report that it says was painted by previous occupants of St Petersburg, Kilda as an open grave. For instance, in a meeting with the English paper, The Watchman, 2012, previous Norman occupant John Gillis reviewed his dad's response to their new home. "This house is more terrible than the one I had in St Kilda." Norman's dad is said to have kept in touch with the Scottish office. Individuals of this island had to become acclimated to life far away from their incorporated society. Over the long haul, notwithstanding, exiles settled external the islands. For individuals like Gillis, who jumped aboard with Beauty Rabbit when she was only 5 years of age, an entirely different world opens up before them, and the 86-year-old idea, "My life is effective," perhaps better than life in St Petersburg. Kilda. A few islanders have gotten back to St Kilda to visit their old homes. Today the bungalows actually flourish, large numbers of them rough and open to the Hebridean breezes. Presently in the 21st years, a disrupting side anticipates the couple of guests to St Kilda. From the powerful ocean to the dim mountains to every one of the spots that look vacant and neglected. Despite the fact that St Kilda might seem to be a phantom town, it's not. In the interim, on the central area, the narrative of St John is unfurling. Kilda proceeded. In February 2020, it was declared that work would start on a lodging on the Isle of Lewis, around 40 kilometers east of the neglected island, where the last survivors passed on in April 2016. Thanks for watching. Remember, liking, subscribe, and share.